We will do the sword yoga sequence. If you haven't got a sword, obviously that's fine. You don't need to use a sword. You could just keep active hands, or you can grab something else that's safe and suitable. Listen to your body. Any injuries, please come out of the pose, be kind, modify it as much as you need. So we're going to start by coming into child's pose. So this is a good pose to sort of get us into the breath and get us into the practice. So you can bring the knees out wide if you want to sink the heart deeper. If you want to work into the back, you can bring the knees together. And just bring the hands out in front like so. And bring the forehead to the mat. And we're just going to come into the breath for the first few moments. And I want you to sigh out the first 2 or 3 breaths. Just come to your breathing. You can breathe all the way in for 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4. As you breathe in, I want you to feel that space being created in the ribs, and particularly noticing the back. So breathing into the back of the body, breathing into the pelvis as well. So let's keep going for a few more breaths. Just notice how the body's feeling right here and right now. Just accepting it. If you feel the mind wander, just slowly draw it back to the breath as many times as you need. We're going to slowly walk the hands towards the right side of the mat and take over the left wrist with the right hand. And as you inhale, feel that stretch in the left side body. If you feel like the hips are lifting too much, and just come out of the stretch slightly, just take a couple more breaths, nice and big. And slowly walk back to center. Take a couple of moments here. Notice how you're feeling. And then let's slowly walk it over to the left now. Take hold of the right wrist. Notice there may be differences, and that's absolutely fine. Breathing all the way in, all the way out. I want you to slowly walk the hands back to center. And on the next inhale, turn the palms to face the ceiling. So we're just externally rotating the shoulders. And just notice that sensation. If there's any pain in the shoulders, then come out of it. Just a couple more breaths here, breathing all the way in, all the way out. And let's bring the hands back onto the mat. We're going to come onto the fingertips this time. So lift the whole of the arm off the mat, shrugging the shoulders in slightly, breathing all the way in, all the way out. And slowly release. And on the next inhale, I want you to slowly start bringing yourself up. So use the hands Bring yourself up into your seated position. Draw the knees in if they're apart. And we're going to take a few shoulder rolls. So nice big shoulder rolls. Inhale as we lift all the way up towards the ears. And exhale to lower. So notice that movement in the shoulder. Notice that movement in the scapula as well. So that's the shoulder blade. And that's what we're going to focus on a little bit today. And take a few rotations in the opposite direction. Nice. And come onto your tiptoes. So come onto the balls of the feet and just sit back on the balls of the feet for a few moments. If it gets uncomfortable, you can untuck the toes. And we're going to inhale as we take the arms up, take the gaze up, nice and tall. So really feel that stretch in the upper body. And exhale to lower, lower the gaze. Take 3 more, nice and big. So we're working into the neck muscles as well. And release. And we're going to gently bring the hips up so they're just above the knees. You can untuck the toes, it's absolutely fine. Take the hands on the lower back. And we're going to slowly draw the shoulders in towards each other. Take the heart out. And we're going to just come into a little back bend here. So try to keep the hips over the knees. Try to work into the lower back. Just a couple more breaths. And we're going to slowly inhale as we come up. And gently bring yourself into your tabletop position. So I want the hands spread out nice and wide, wrists below the shoulders, knees below the hips. And we're going to take our cat-cow breaths. So as you inhale, I want you to tilt the pelvis away from the belly, draw the belly towards the mat, slowly work the shoulders in towards the spine. Take the gaze up. As you exhale, turn the pelvis the other way. So draw the belly up towards the sky, round the shoulders, gaze comes down. Just work through a few of these in your own breath. Just notice any pinch points, any little pains you might have. You might want to breathe into those bits of the body. So we're going to do a few exercises working into the shoulders. So they might be quite strong. You can always come onto knees if you need to. You can modify them slightly. All we're doing essentially is trying to stabilize and strengthen the muscles around the shoulder and also work into that serratus anterior muscle that kind of comes around the side of the body. You can just take any other little movements that you want here. If you want to come out to the side, roll it out, it's absolutely fine. So this should feel nice. It shouldn't be painful. Again, if there's any pain, just ease off into a figure of 8. Let's just do a couple more. And when you're ready, I want you to slowly come onto your forearms. Just take hold of opposite elbows. Check that you're roughly shoulder distance apart. And bring the forearms out in front of you. Hands nice and flat on the mat. You're going to tuck the toes under and then lift the hips up. So you're coming into dolphin dog. You can walk the feet a little bit forward. So you can start with any arm. Bring the arm out to the side. So lift the left arm up, for example. Sweep it underneath like so. And lift and sweep. So we're just stabilizing that shoulder blade. Take 2 more. And bring the arm out. And we're going to bring it out so the hands are pointing forward. And just pulse it here. 2 more. And release. Bring that forearm onto the back. And come onto the other arm. So bring the other arm straight out. Sweep it under. Bring it straight. Sweep it under. So just take about 5. Nice. And then we're going to bring it out as cactus arm to the right. Just pulse it here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Bring the forearm to the mat. Just hold dolphin dog here for a few breaths. Breathe into the shoulders. Breathe into the back body. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to drop the knees and just come back into child pose, just for a few moments. Just want to make sure we're not overdoing it. What I want you to do next is come onto forearm planks. Just take a couple more breaths where you are in child pose. You can stay there for a little bit longer. Come into forearm planks. So take hold of opposite elbows, bring the arms out, bring the right foot out and the left foot out. We're going to do the same exercise. Left arm comes out, sweep it under. Bring it out, sweep it under. Bring it out, sweep it under. Let's do 2 more. So we're doing roughly 5 on each side. And then we're going to go over to the other side. Bring it out and under. Really feel that shoulder blade working. Just notice the movement in the muscles. Bring it out and bring yourself back into forearm plank. And we're going to hold forearm plank for a few breaths. Take 2 more breaths. And we're going to come back into child's pose. So we're going to come into child's pose for a few breaths. Use it as a resting pose if you like. We're going to come into our final shoulder stabilizing exercise. So just before we come out of it, we're going to come into plank pose. And I'm just going to demo it really quickly before we move into it. So we're going to come into plank pose like so. And just so you're starting on the whatever side, you bring the arm straight out. And then you sweep it behind you as you come into side plank. And you hold it here. And then you sweep the arm back forward and return to your plank. And bring the arm back to the mat. So that's basically it. So it's a round movement. But you can hold it at the top for a breath. And bring it back as you come in. So just do about 5 on each side and we'll meet back in child's pose. Remember, you can always drop a leg or a knee. It's entirely up to you. These are quite strong poses, so be careful. Remember, you can come into child's pose earlier. You don't need to do 5 on each side. And try to do them with honesty. So when you come back into your plank pose, try to keep the hips in line. So we're not rushing. On this side. When you're done, slowly coming into your child's pose. So make sure you give yourself a few breaths here because we're going to just do 2 quick tricep sets as well. We're going to take a couple more breaths in child's pose. So nice deep breath all the way in and all the way out. When you're ready, we're going to meet in plank pose. Now remember, you can do this tricep exercise on the knees if you need to. That's absolutely fine. But essentially, you're going to come into plank. You can stay in plank. Otherwise, you can bend the elbows, bring the chest forward and come into around about 90 degrees and lift. You don't have to go too far down. So work with your triceps. We're just going to do 5. Make sure you're not losing that dip in the hips. So keep the body nice and strong. And just come into child's pose for 3 breaths. And let's come back into our tabletop position. And I want you to bring the forearms onto the mat, nice and slow. Take hold of the opposite elbows. Check that you're roughly shoulder distance apart. And we're going to bring the hands back to the mat. So we're on the forearms. Tuck the toes under and lift the hips up. And we're just going to hold dolphin pose here. So we're working into the triceps and the shoulders still. So we're breathing in. And if you want to take it deeper, you can lift one leg up at a time. You can come onto the ball of the other foot. We're going to stay here in our dolphin dog pose for 3, for 2, for 1, and release. Slowly drop the knees and slowly bring yourself into one more child's pose. And we're going to be moving into our sword yoga sequence. If you are using anything, then bring it close by. Just remember, as always, to be safe. I'd only recommend doing the sword yoga if you do specifically train in some sort of swords. Otherwise, don't use anything. It's absolutely fine. So just take a couple more breaths and we're just going to meet in our seated position. And let's just take a few shoulder rolls in both directions. And I want you to lift the hips up and we're going to inhale as we take the arms up. Take the right hand around the left wrist and we're going to stretch it over to the right. Let's try to keep the hips nice and lined up. And we're going to come back through center, switch it over, take it over to the left. Nice, and just release the arms. And take hold of the sword if you're using the sword. And we're going to bring that right foot forward, so we're bending into the right knee. And we're going to come into posture longer on the right side. So just stretching out. So remember, if you don't have the sword or anything, just you can keep the arms active like so. Just as effective. And just breathe into it, a couple more breaths. Just do that postures that you do depending on your training. I'm going to bring the bum back to the left heel, stretching into that right hamstring. And you can bring the sword into a different posture. So I'm doing bicorneo now. I use the sword yoga sequence really just to practice my posture. It's been so long. And then we're going to come back forward, bending into that right knee, come back into your posture longer. Just a couple of breaths. And let's bring the bum back and come into another pose. I'm going to come into frontale. I'm going to just bring the cross at eye level. Try to keep the spine nice and neutral here, so we're not leaning forward too much. And let's come back into posture longer one more time on this side. Just a couple more breaths. And then from here, I want you to bring the sword on the inside of the right side and lift that left knee off and come into finestra on the right. So we're taking the sword over to the left, taking the gaze over to the left. So remember, your Positioning your arms, your hands. So I leave it to you if you're trained, be safe. And we're going to inhale to come all the way up through center. And we're just going to bring the sword down. So bring the point to the mat. And we're going to lift up and we're going to open the heart. So just draw the shoulders in towards each other. We're just going to come to working on the other side. So bring the sword back up. And this time we're going to start bending into that left knee, dropping the right knee onto the mat, coming into longer on the other side. So we're just doing the other side. So remember, hold the sword nice and long. Activate the arms. I'm going to slowly bring the bum back to the right heel, and you can come into whatever posture you like. So I'm going to come into bicorneo, drawing the elbows into the body. That's my instabile posture. Remember to keep breathing. And we're going to inhale it forward again, bending into that left knee. Come into longer one more time. And we're going to drop the bum back again. And you can do any other posture. So I'm coming back into my frontale just for a couple of breaths, nice and deep, all the way in. And this time we're going to come into longer one more time for a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, slowly bring the sword behind you for Sinestra, bending into that left knee, lifting onto that right heel. So just coming onto the right heel, take the gaze over to the right. Just a couple of breaths. When you're ready, lift all the way up. And this time I want you to come into Finestra, bending into the right knee. If you don't have the sword, just come into Warrior Two. If you're in Finestra, bring that left arm out straight. So we're just taking that left arm out in the direction of the sword. Take the gaze whichever way you want. But ideally to the left. So if you're doing your Warrior Two footwork, come to the outer edge of that left foot. So that left foot is parallel with the short edge of the mat. We're going to flip that front palm. So flip the left palm, bring the left hand behind the waist, and we're going to turn the body up. So we're gazing up towards the sky, stretching into that right side body. So you can always have a look if you're unsure, especially if you're new to the sword yoga. Keep the bend in the right knee as we gently come back up into Finestra. And let's straighten that right knee. Bring the sword. And this time, we're going to take it in the left hand, bending into the left knee, taking the gaze over towards the right. So we're just running through the other side. Take a couple more breaths. We're going to flip the right palm and bring that right hand behind the waist. And we're going to take the head up towards the sky as we stretch into the left side body. So be very careful here. Keep the bend in that right knee, nice and strong. And we're going to inhale as we come all the way up. Take the sword with both hands like so. We're going to fan the toes away from the midline and we're going to pulse it here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. So just coming into your goddess squat pose. Hold it here, working into the inner thigh muscles, the groin area. Nice neutral spine. And release. And just slowly bring the sword back to the mat and just place it away from you now. So just at a safe distance. We're going to bring the hands to the waist and just heel toe the feet together like so. And just shake it all out. And slowly start bringing yourself to the top of the mat. We're going to come into our mountain pose. You can keep the feet together or you can keep them apart, whatever's safe for you. So wherever you are at, lift the toes up. So take a look at your feet, lift the toes up. Spread them out as you bring them back to the mat. So actually really look at what you're doing with your feet. Rooting through all four corners of the feet. Take the shoulders away from the ears, bring the arms by the side, and just gently take the gaze ahead of you. A nice neutral spine. Don't be afraid to hear your breath. You can have that slight constriction at the back of the throat. It's like an ocean-like sound. Remember to use that breath throughout the rest of the practice. Let's take 2 more breaths. I want you to inhale as you float the arms up. Take the gaze up. Exhale. Let's fold forward from the hips. Take the hands towards the mat. Bend the knees if you need. Inhale. Halfway lift. Exhale as we step back into plank. Let's hold plank a little bit longer. I want you to check your alignment. Hands spread out nice and wide. If you feel the hips are dipping like this, then just engage the core, lift them up slightly, drawing the heels away from the body. So nice, strong pose. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to bend the elbows, bring the chest forward. So we're not taking the elbows back. And we're going to inhale as we open the heart. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Exhale, come into downward facing dog. Just take a few moments here. I want you to pedal the feet, bend the knees, spread the hands so nice and strong, and take the attention to the back of the body. Sometimes when we're in down dog, we're focusing too much on the heart and the chest. So really breathe into the pelvis, breathe into the backs of the ribs. And I want us to take 3 lion's breaths here. So when you exhale, just open the mouth and let it all out. Take 1 more inhale. And as you exhale, take the gaze ahead of you between the hands. And let's slowly walk the feet towards the hands. And just come into ragdoll. So just hang here for a few moments. Let a bend in the knees if you need it. Look after the hamstrings. Look after the back. Let's just swing it out. Just find your point. And I want you to take your hands wherever they reach. So whether it's the big toes, the shins, the thighs, wherever you are, just sink into this forward fold. Feel the elbows rolling out wide. And I want you to inhale as you lift the chest and straighten the arms. Exhale to fold. So just take a few in your own time. I find this quite good for me for opening up my hamstrings. Just deep into my practice. But remember, as always, it's not how far you go, it's how you go. It's the journey. Just take a couple more breaths. When you're ready, I want you to slowly start coming all the way up. Remember to keep that bend in the knees if it helps. And bring your arms all the way up overhead. Come onto the tiptoes. Nice big stretch. Shoot the fingers up towards the sky. Hold it here for 3, for 2, for 1, and release. Bring the heels to the mat. Take a few shoulder rolls in both directions. Just come back into your Tadasana. Lift the toes up, spread them out, bring them back down. Shoulders away from the ears, arms by the side. Feel like there's a piece of string pulling you up from the crown of the head. So if I was there, I'd put my hand on your head and you just breathe into it and lift up. You're going to inhale to rise. Exhale, fold forward from the hips. Inhale, you lift up halfway. Remember, when you lift up halfway, keep the back supported. So you can come onto fingertips or shins or thighs. We're going to exhale as we step back with the right, step back with the left, coming into plank pose. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, bend the elbows, bring that chest ahead of you. Untuck the toes as we lift up and open the heart. Exhale, let's come into downward facing dog. We're going to inhale that right leg in the air. Flex that foot, nice and big. As you exhale, bend the knee and bring it to touch the nose, just towards the nose. Inhale to lift. Exhale as you bring the right knee to the right tricep. Inhale to lift. As you exhale, bend the right knee, twist it over towards that left tricep or elbow. You can release that right leg. You can let it hover. And we're going to bring that right arm up. If you want to go further, you can tap the foot with the left hand. Either way, let's release that left hand to the mat. Shoot that right leg back into the air for our three-legged dog. You can stay here. You can release that foot or bend the right knee. Stack the right hip over the left. Take the gaze under the right armpit. Or drop the right foot, coming all the way into wild thing. If you do wild thing, try to keep the heart lifted. And let's all meet back in downward facing dog. I want you to inhale as you lift the heels away from the mat. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. One more time. And release. You're going to take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, just let it out the mouth. And we're going to inhale that right leg in the air one more time. Exhale as you bend the knee. Bring the right foot between the hands. And we're going to drop that left knee. Take that left hand on the mat. Take the right hand and stabilize that left shoulder. Really focus on what you're doing here. And we're going to inhale as we twist it over to the right. Release the arm towards the sky. Option to lift off that back knee. So this is another great shoulder stabilizer. It's also a really nice twist. Okay, one more inhale. Exhale, release that hand to the mat. Drop that back knee. We're just going to stay here for a couple of breaths. And as you inhale, sweep both arms up towards the sky, just coming into your low lunge. You can lift off that back knee. It's your choice. Keep the upper body nice and strong. Take one more inhale and exhale to release. Frame that front foot. Hands nice and strong. You're going to slightly bend the elbows as we shoot that right leg back into the air for three-legged dog. You can stay here or drop the leg, or if you want a bit more of a challenge, you can come forward into three-legged plank. Slowly lower down. Gently drop the right foot. Untuck the left toes. Come back into your downward facing dog. So it's just a three-legged chaturanga. Let's all take a couple more breaths in down dog. And as you exhale, take the gaze between the hands, step or walk feet to hands. We're going to inhale for our halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise. Sweep the arms all the way up. And exhale to release. So just take a few moments here, because it is quite strong on the wrist. If you need to do any kind of wrist exercises, you can rotate the wrists in both directions. Just take a few moments. I'm going to work through the other side. It's really important that you listen to your body. So let's just use these few moments to rest. Think about the sequence. Just come into your Tadasana. Bring your focus back. We're going to inhale to rise. Exhale, let's fold it forward from the hips. Take it towards the back. Inhale, we lift up halfway. Exhale, let's step back into plank pose. Remember, nice and strong with the core here. Draw the heels away from the body. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, let's lower down. So bend the elbows, bring that chest forward. Inhale, we open the heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Remember to keep breathing. We're going to inhale that left leg in the air. Flex that foot, nice and big. Bend the left knee, bring it towards the nose. Inhale to lift. Bend the left knee, bring it towards that left elbow, left tricep, and lift. And this time, let's take it over to the right. It's a nice twist. You can release that left leg. You can let it hover. You can tap it with the right hand. Either way, drop the right hand. Bring yourself back into three-legged dog. Option to stack left hip over right. Option to drop back into wild thing. Let's come back into three-legged dog. You can drop that foot anytime. You can hold it for a couple more breaths and release. Let's inhale that left leg in the air again. Exhale, bend the left knee, bring the left foot between the hands. And you can drop that right knee. And stabilize that right shoulder this time, so take your time. And we're going to twist it over to the left. You can lift that right knee off at any point. We're nearly there, guys, so you're doing really well. Take one more inhale. And exhale, let's release that left hand. Just drop that back knee for the moment. So just take a couple of breaths here to rest. And just ground yourself. And when you're ready, we're going to sweep the arms up, coming into our low lunge. You can lift that back knee off, it's your choice. Remember, keep a nice strong back. So one more inhale and exhale to release. Slowly drop the hands. Gently bend the elbows slightly as we shoot back into our three-legged dog. Remember the options. You can drop that left leg or you can come forward like so into your three-legged plank. Lower down as we gently drop the feet. And let's all meet back in downward facing dog. Breathe into the back. Nice. Take one more inhale. Exhale as you gaze between the hands. Let's step or walk feet to hands. We're going to inhale for our halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Just stay in this fold for a little bit longer. Use it as a nice pose to chill. And when you're ready, we're going to come all the way up. Take the arms up to the sky. And exhale to release. And just take a few shoulder rolls. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. We're just going to do a little bit of standing and just slowly come back towards the mat. So we're nearly there. So we're going to just do a couple of standing poses. And I want you to start off in tree pose. So most of you know what we're doing. So you can bring the feet together and just decide which leg is going to be your standing leg. So I'm going to have my left leg as standing first. So press that standing foot into the mat. And let's bring the hands towards the hips for the moment. And just gently lift up the right leg. Just bring that right knee into the chest. You can take the right hand around it. And then slowly plug that right foot in, either above the left knee, on the thigh, or below, or you can have the right toes touching the mat. Bring the hands to heart center. Try to keep a nice neutral body here. Just find a point of focus. It could be a little dot on the wall or something. When you're ready, just release the tree. Don't worry if you fall, don't worry if you wobble. Slowly bring the hands back to heart center. And just gently release that right knee. We're going to bring that right knee into the chest. And let's take the right hand to the right knee, bring the left hand to the left hip. And just take that right knee out wide. You take the gaze to the right if you want. Slowly bring that right knee back to center. And hug it into the chest with both hands this time. Flex the foot. Rotate the ankle. And release. And just shake it out. It's quite strong on that standing leg. So we're just going to run through that on the other side. So press that standing foot into the mat. Just get yourself there. Bring that left knee into the chest. Just hug it in with the left hand. When you're ready, just bring that left foot wherever it needs to be. So it could be above that right knee, below the right knee. Or you could even have the toes touching the mat. It's entirely up to you. Hands to heart center. When you're ready, release the tree. It might be easier on one side. My right leg standing is always a little bit stronger. Just a couple more breaths. When you're ready, just release the hands back to heart center. And we're going to slowly release that left knee. Just bring it into the chest. Take hold of it with the left hand. Right hand comes to the hip. And just take it out wide. Let's bring it back. And just hug it in with both hands. And again, don't worry if you wobble or fall out of this. I'm a bit wobbly. And just flex that left foot and rotate the ankle a few times. And slowly release. And just shake it all out. So we're going to just work our way towards the mat. I want you to bring your feet mat distance apart. Just take the toes away from the midline. Bring the hands to heart center. And slowly start sinking into your yogi squat, like so. Don't worry if you fall. That's fine. You can stay here, or you can release the bum to the mat. Or you can have a go at crow pose. So I'll just give you a quick demo. Just bring the hands in front of you. Have a little play around with the distance you need between your feet and your hands. We're going to lift up onto the tiptoes, lift the bum up towards the sky, slot the knees in towards the upper arms. And then just have a little practice of shifting the weight forward 1 foot at a time. And if you are getting the feet off, just point the toes, point. Take the gaze a few inches ahead of you. and release. So we're slowly going to meet with our bums on the mat, and we're going to bring the legs out in front of us, flex the feet, micro bending the knees, that's totally cool. Hands either side, fingers pointing towards the toes. And we're going to inhale as we lift and lengthen through the upper body. Just coming into Dandasana pose. Just a couple more breaths. Slowly release. One more pose before we come into our final Shavasana. I want you to bring the feet together like so. Open them out like you're reading a book. Safe gap between the groin and the heels. We're going to inhale as we lift and lengthen. Exhale as we hinge forward from the hips. Keep a neutral spine for the moment. Just one more breath here. And as you exhale, just let it go. So just round the back, relax your body. And when you're ready, just take a couple more breaths here. And slowly come up. We're almost there, guys. Bring the knees in. And I want you to slowly let the feet out and gently walk yourself down towards the mat. So we're coming to our laying down Shavasana pose. This is corpse pose. So just spread yourself out, squeeze everything all the way from the glutes to the chest to the face to the hands, and release. And just sink in here. We'll be here for about a minute. And we're going to start deepening the breath. And let's start slowly wriggling the fingers and the toes. Just moving on to rotating the ankles and the wrists in both directions. Just bring yourself into a nice big stretch. And let's bring the knees into the chest one by one. And give yourself a nice little hug and a gentle rock from side to side. And slowly, let's roll out onto the sides and safely bring ourselves straight up into our cross-legged position. So keep the eyes closed and the face soft. And we're going to bring the hands to heart center. And we're going to end today's practice with our 3 clearing breaths. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. And you can slowly bring the thumbs up to the third eye. if you wish. And I want to thank you all for today's practice. It's been really nice to have a nice big class today. I want to thank you all for the progress. And please, I want you to be proud of your own achievements and proud of your journey throughout these last few months in all senses. The inner light in me will always honour the inner light in each and every one of you. Thank you so much for today's practice. Cheers, everybody. Don't know who we've still got, actually. Brilliant. Thanks very much for today, and hopefully we'll do it again next week.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Brilliant. See you later, my lovelies. Have a good day.
Bye. Thank
You too.